What's up everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to get right back into the interior work on the Miata. So let's get after it. I'm going to start today off with pulling the cassette tape player and the stereo out of the car. Couple screws up on the top. That's right. You want to be careful not to drop these screws down your vent either, because then they are kind of gone. Not all the way gone. You'll get them out. But I don't want to have to fish them out of there. Just like that, so it's out of the way now. Faceplate came off. Now we just pulled a couple screws that hold in the stereo and then disconnect the wires from the back. Keep this connector with that. Not terrible wiring job from previous owner. So that's a few more pounds off of the inside of the car. So I gotta run to the store a little bit later and grab paint for the interior. I'm gonna see if I can find like a small sheet of like plexiglass too, because I want to cover this and like spray it black so it just covers the big hole that's here. I'm not going to put anything back in there as of right now, so if I can seal it, that'd be great. I'm also going to try and cut the rest of this carpet out from underneath here now that it is open and I can see basically all the rest of the carpet, and it all moves in here pretty easy. I just have to be able to cut it. So we'll try and get that snipped out of here. So I didn't show this part, but I did get the carpet pulled out. There was a push pin way up in the middle. This carpet's nasty. That's almost 30 years of just ishy, gross, never been cleaned because it's up under the dash. So that's gonna go, we're gonna keep that out of the car. All the other pieces I had to kind of slice out to get it from underneath the dash. We want that little plastic plug still. We will set that in the pile for today's weight. Not very much, but it's nice to get that out of there. Our pile of weight savings has began for today. This pile will continue to grow with more stuff being pulled out of the interior of the dash. Next, we're just gonna put this kind of back into place. There's a little piece, just like a spacer. We're gonna put that back into place and just rest it there until I get a piece of plexiglass cut and shaped over that to cover that hole. We'll spray that a nice black so it kind of blends in, looks a little cleaner, and it caps off a big hole. We will now jump into the glove box area. I need to pull the glove box compartment out so we can access the air conditioned box that is tucked up underneath. It's a pretty big box. I'll show you that when we get there. We have the glove box compartment completely removed. We got it up there. It's actually got quite a bit of weight to it, but we're not gonna leave that off the car. We are gonna put that back in here. It's not a very heavy duty like frame for it, so it's not like it's a ton of weight. But this big box right here, that is the AC condenser. Like there's a sheet in here where the condensed air like an AC unit uses is in here. This box is coming out. Then we're gonna go to the store and get like a dryer vent tube that can slip over that and clamp in. That's super lightweight because that's connects the blower motor to the rest of the vents, and we still want air to be able to blow up on the window in case of a rainy day. We want some sort of airflow on the window to help keep it defrosted and it doesn't get foggy. So what we have to do is we need to take this clamp off. That should disconnect it from the blower motor over here. And then there should be one up inside up there as well. And it should kind of come off. There's 2 tubes that go through the firewall that we have to be able to pop out as well. I will show you that real quick. I thought it was 2, but it's just this one port that's just got to be pressed through. It's in like a rubber seal. It is pretty tight in there, but it should be able to pop through fairly easy. We will go ahead, pull these clamps off, and see if we can get this thing yanked out of here. Literally and figuratively yanking it. Plus, like I said, we gotta pull it through the firewall as well. This brace will come out too. Make a little more clearance. What a process to get this box out, huh? I'm just curious to know how much the box actually weighs. This gotta go back in there. Oh, tweaked. I'll have to maybe try and straighten that out. This again here. Now we have a little room. There we go. That's a decent weight. Maybe 5 pounds. Like if you look at it, it is all aluminum in there. But that's a big piece of aluminum condenser and foam. Really dirty and nasty, and a bunch of other piping and tubing in there too. So all of that coming out, that's a plus. Now that we have the AC box out of there and some more of the glue and sound deadening, we're now gonna move to the backside a little bit before we go ahead and start doing any paint prep on the floor. In the last video, I had mentioned that I wanna cut out a little bit more of this and get this cleaned up a lot more, because this is sharp material here from when I cut this out for the down bar of the roll bar. So we're gonna just cut this out a little bit more and clean that up so it's ready to paint back here as well. We are gonna sand this and spray this as well. And then as well as over there, I wanna cut that out a little bit more too. With the driver's side, there isn't as much to cut out here because this is kind of capping this off and there's a brace under here. So we'll be able to cut some of it. If anyone is like concerned about the rigidity of the backside of the car, this is very flimsy. It's not doing much, and there's only little spot welds holding this whole back piece in. So to cut out a little bit more of this isn't gonna make that much of an impact on how rigid the backside of that is. I'll go back over to the passenger side and show you that over here as well. This again is just very thin. It's held on by a screw right here and then 4 spot welds. There's not much there. So we're gonna go ahead and cut around where the fuel tank is right here and kind of up along this side and back down right back here. I'm also going to try and drill out these spot welds on this bracket and get this piece off as well, because that's not needed anymore either. After getting this measured out and marked, just kind of a dotted line of where I'm cutting. It's actually a pretty big chunk that's gonna be coming out of here. Like, it doesn't need to be there. It's just flimsy material. So we're gonna cut basically a chunk to the middle and out. We're gonna leave this bent part in here because that's gonna be more structural for the top. But down here, this sheet right here is doing not really anything at all. And I could potentially drill this couple of spot welds out and just like slice it off right there, but I also don't know. We'll get to that eventually. We'll just cut out this big chunk first and go from there and see where we get. That's all we're gonna do there. Just gives us a little better access to the top of these bolts, and then plenty of access over there. We'll get this sanded out real quick and then vacuum all those metal shavings out, and then go ahead and start prepping for paint. This is what it looks like after a little bit of orbital sander with a 80 grit disc on there. We're just trying to rough up the surface a little bit for the 2-in-1 paint primer that we're going to put over this to kind of black out the back section here. We're not going anything crazy. We're just getting it roughed up a little. We're going to do the same thing down here on the floor and on the passenger side and the transmission tunnel. This is not a professional paint job. I am doing this in my garage, so it's not gonna look 100%. It's gonna be good enough for what we're doing with it. Your feet are gonna be on the floor, and I'm gonna cover it with some grip tape anyways. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna come in here, sand the floor. This was the worst spot down here where the antifreeze was kind of peeling some of the paint. I got it cleaned up fairly decent. I did some engine degreaser and then cleaned it up with brake cleaner after that and got it all wiped out. Now it's just a little bit of surface rust we have to take off. Kind of tried a little bit right here and it smoothed this out really nice. So we're gonna do that with the whole rest of this section in here and behind the seat and then over on the passenger side. So let's get after it. All right, so we got all of the sanding taken care of. It's just enough so it's got a texture to be able to spray paint onto to stick. I took a little more time on the driver's side because there was a lot more surface rust on there. Not as much back here because it's probably gonna get covered. But now we're gonna wipe it down with like brake cleaner and a rag just to make sure there's not any dust just kind of settled down because there's a lot of stuff floating in the air right now. Once we got it all cleaned up, we'll take a quick run into town. I gotta pick up the spray cans still. I have not done that. Plus I need to pick up tape to be able to tape off a lot of the stuff on the dash up there. I don't want a ton of overspray all over inside the car. I'm painting basically all of the interior, not the doors, not the dash. All right, well, we got the sanding and all of the prep work for paint basically done, besides taping off the areas that we don't want to get sprayed with paint. So before we run out to the store, we're gonna get a weight of everything that we pulled off the car today, get it on the whiteboard, and then go grab some paint. We have the AC box, the stereo, and a bunch of miscellaneous sound deadening and other pieces that came off of underneath the dash and covering the fuel tank. So let's go ahead and step on the scale and figure out what this weighs. So the total weight of all of that stuff we pulled out today was 16 pounds. So we'll add 16 pounds to the 114 pounds and get a total. So if we take a peek at everything added together here, total weight including today's, we're at 130 pounds that we've taken off of the car. So 130 pounds doesn't seem like a ton, but on a Miata, 130 pounds is quite a bit of weight to take off. So with that, we're gonna run to the store, we'll grab some paint and get spraying. All right, we got some tape, we got some paint. Now let's get this thing all taped off and throw some paint in the interior. We've got quite a bit of work ahead of us getting this all taped off and blocked off. So we don't want to paint the ECU, we don't want to paint the shifter and the handbrake or the dash. So we'll get some stuff thrown on here and I'll show you when we're done. All right, we got at least enough of it taped off to where it's not going to get too much overspray. I'm not super worried about where the cage is. If I get some overspray on that, not a big deal. I put some intentional overspray on here last year and it's not that bad. I did tape up and bagged the ECU and the handbrake and the shifter, so that's all covered up and taken care of. Not all of it, I gotta do over there yet. But the rest of it's basically ready to go. I'm gonna start over on the driver's side and kind of work over that way, and then come back here and work back up that way, just to get a first layer of some primer. All right, we got really good base coat down of the primer, and then I got 1 coat of regular paint over top of that. We need to vacate the garage for a little while. I'll probably let this sit overnight before we try and throw any more paint at it. It's quite stinky in here. I was wearing the respirator the whole time, but it's still really bad in here. So we gotta let it air out. We gotta give it time for this paint to kind of settle down. But for a drift car, I think it's turning out pretty good. Much better than the mismatched paint that it was before. We are back out for day 2. We're gonna take a quick look at the paint, see how it's kind of setting and drying a little bit. We will determine if we need to add a little bit more paint in some of the light spots, because I'm pretty sure there's a few light spots in here. We did the best we could with spraying it as thoroughly as we could, but the fumes were kind of all over the place. It's hard to see through all the paint fumes in the air. So we had to let it settle and everything air out in here. So we had a good look this morning. So looking in the driver's side here, you'll get a little bit of a glare with the light. It is not a gloss paint, it is like a satin paint. But just kind of looking at it, it looks like it's covered fairly well up here. At least good enough for a drift car. It seals the paint so there's not any surface rust anymore. So I think we might be okay on the driver's side to where we can start to put the driver's seat brackets back in here. There is a little bit of drip or like run right up on this tunnel side here. You can't really see it on the camera, but I can see it. It's very mild, but that should be fine. Once everything's in here, you probably won't really be able to see that very much. So we're gonna look back up around where the cage is. I already kind of had a peek right inside here. There is a couple of light spots around where all the bolts are. So we might just give it a little bit of shot of paint around this back lip, just to ensure everything is coated fairly nice. Painting up here won't interfere with putting the seats back in, so we'll go over the passenger side, take a look at that side real quick, and hopefully we can put the passenger side seat back in as well. So that being said, not a lot of touch-up that will probably need to be done. It looks pretty decent, especially for just a drift car. It is gonna get scuffed in there from going in and out with dirty feet, so that's not as much of a concern to me. So we're gonna go ahead, put the driver and passenger seat in here, and we'll show you when that's in. So the interior is complete as of right now. I think we're gonna leave the carpet out. It turned out so nice back here. I am very happy with how it turned out. It is not perfect. There is still debris and specks that are on it, but it's much better than just leaving it open and miscellaneous random colors back here. The interior down by the driver's feet turned out great. The trans tunnel is in a very nice looking condition now. And then the passenger side foot area is also very nice. Overall, I'd say that is a very big success. I am very happy with how it turned out. Again, it's not perfect, but it looks way better than leaving it just bare metal. So to end out today, quick recap, we pulled out the AC box and stereo and a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff under the dash. That was 16 pounds. We got 130 pounds total right now pulled from the car. That is also a success. The car is looking nice and spicy now with black interior. I am very happy with how that turned out. That is so nice. Everything is ready to go. Now I just have to wait on some grip tape, like that you would put on a skateboard. I'm gonna lay that down by both passenger and driver's side feet, so you got a little bit of grip so you're not sliding around, and it should be all set. So we're gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.